Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into a fascinating book that explores the intersection of psychology and finance. The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. This book is a must-read for anyone who wants to understand the emotions and biases that can impact our financial decisions. In this video, we'll be exploring key concepts from the book, including risk, the seduction of extrapolation, and the importance of adapting to change. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just getting started, there's something in this book for everyone. So sit back, relax, and let's explore the psychology of money. Chapter 1. Timeless Lessons on Wealth. The first chapter of the book outlines timeless lessons on wealth that we can learn from history. Housel argues that there are three key principles that underpin financial success. Number 1. Living below your means. Number 2. Saving consistently. Number 3. Investing for the long term. He cites examples of wealthy individuals from the past who lived by these principles and became incredibly wealthy over time. However, he also acknowledges that these principles are easier said than done. Our psychology often gets in the way of us living below our means, saving consistently, and investing for the long term. Chapter 2. Getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. The second chapter of the book explores the difference between getting wealthy and staying wealthy. Housel argues that getting wealthy is relatively easy, but staying wealthy is much harder. Our psychology plays a key role in this. Housel points out that people tend to become overconfident when they experience early success with investing or entrepreneurship. This can lead to taking on too much risk and eventually losing everything. On the other hand, people who stay wealthy tend to be more humble and cautious. They recognize that luck plays a role in financial success, and they take steps to protect their wealth. Chapter 3. The Seduction of Pessimism. In this chapter, Housel explores the seduction of pessimism, the idea that the world is getting worse and worse, and that things are destined to go wrong. He argues that this mindset can be dangerous when it comes to investing, because it can lead to a tendency to sell off assets too soon or avoid investing altogether. Housel acknowledges that there are many real problems in the world that can impact our financial well-being. However, he also points out that over the long term, the world has generally gotten better, and that investing in the stock market has historically been a wise decision. Chapter 4. When you'll believe anything. In this chapter, Housel explores the psychology of belief and how it impacts our relationship with money. He points out that people tend to believe what they want to believe, and that our beliefs can often be irrational or based on faulty information. Housel argues that it's important to be skeptical of financial advice and to do your own research before making investment decisions. He also points out that our beliefs about money can often be shaped by the people around us, our friends, family, and social circle. Chapter 5. Confounding compounding. The fifth chapter of the book explores the power of compounding and how it can impact our financial well-being over time. Housel points out that the earlier we start investing, the more we stand to benefit from compounding. However, he also acknowledges that our psychology can get in the way of making smart investment decisions. For example, we may be tempted to chase high-risk investments in the hopes of making quick profits, rather than sticking to a long-term investment strategy that will benefit us in the long run. Chapter 6. Nothing's free. In Chapter 6 of The Psychology of Money, author Morgan Housel delves into the concept of risk and how it impacts our financial decisions. He points out that every investment comes with some level of risk and there is no such thing as a free lunch when it comes to investing. One common mistake that people make is assuming that low-risk investments are always the best option. While it's true that low-risk investments are generally less volatile, they also tend to offer lower returns over the long term. Holding all your money in cash, for example, may feel safe, but it can also mean missing out on potential gains. On the other hand, higher-risk investments like stocks and real estate can offer higher returns over the long term, but they also come with greater volatility and the potential for loss. Housel argues that it's important to be aware of the risks associated with different investment strategies and to make informed decisions based on your own risk tolerance. Another key point that Housel makes in this chapter is that the cost of avoiding risk can be high. For example, if you are too risk-averse and avoid investing altogether, you may miss out on the potential gains that come with a long-term investment strategy. Similarly, if you are too focused on short-term gains and take on too much risk, you may end up losing everything. Ultimately, Housel argues that the key to successful investing is finding a balance between risk and reward that works for you. This may involve taking on some level of risk, but also being mindful of the potential downsides and having a long-term investment strategy in place. By understanding the role that risk plays in our financial decisions and making informed choices, we can set ourselves up for long-term financial success. Chapter 7. The Seduction of Extrapolation. In this chapter, Housel explores how our tendency to extrapolate past trends into the future can lead to misguided investment decisions. He argues that it's important to be aware of the limitations of extrapolation and to take a more nuanced view of future trends. Chapter 8. When Things Get Complicated. In this chapter, Housel discusses the complexity of financial markets and how it can impact our decision-making. He argues that while it's important to be knowledgeable about investing, it's also important to be humble and recognize the limits of our own understanding. Chapter 9. Room for Error. In this chapter, Housel explores the importance of leaving room for error in our financial plans. He argues that unexpected events can and will happen, and that having a cushion of savings can help us weather financial storms. Chapter 10. You'll Change. In this chapter, Housel discusses the importance of being adaptable when it comes to our financial plans. He argues that life is unpredictable and that our financial goals and priorities may change over time. Chapter 11. Nothing's Stable. In this chapter, Housel explores the concept of stability and how it impacts our financial decisions. He argues that while stability is important, it's also important to recognize that nothing in life is completely stable and that we need to be prepared for unexpected events. Chapter 12. The Biggest Mistake. In this chapter, Housel discusses what he believes to be the biggest mistake people make when it comes to investing: trying to predict the future. He argues that no one can predict the future with certainty, and that trying to do so can lead to costly mistakes. Chapter 13. When Psychology Meets Ecology. In this chapter, Housel explores how our psychology impacts our relationship with the environment and how this, in turn, can impact our financial decisions. He argues that we need to recognize the interconnectedness of the natural world and our financial systems in order to make wise investment decisions. Chapter 14. When History Misleads. In this chapter, Housel discusses how our interpretation of history can be misleading when it comes to investing. He argues that while it's important to learn from the past, we also need to recognize that each era is unique and that historical trends may not necessarily repeat themselves. Chapter 15. Never Enough. In this chapter, Housel explores the concept of enough and how it relates to our financial goals. He argues that our desire for more money and possessions is often driven by psychological factors like social comparison and the fear of missing out. Chapter 16. Conflicts of Interest. In this chapter, Housel discusses the conflicts of interest that can arise in the financial industry. He argues that it's important to be aware of these conflicts and to do our own research before making investment decisions. Chapter 17. Man in the Mirror. In this chapter, Housel discusses the importance of taking responsibility for our own financial decisions. He argues that while external factors like the economy and the stock market can impact our finances, ultimately it's up to us to make wise choices. Chapter 18. Getting Wealthy Slowly. In the final chapter of the book, Housel offers advice on how to get wealthy slowly but surely. He argues that the key to long-term financial success is to live below our means, save consistently, and invest for the long term. By being patient and disciplined, we can achieve financial freedom and peace of mind. That's a wrap on our discussion of The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. We hope you enjoyed learning about the fascinating insights and practical advice offered in this book. Remember, understanding the psychology of money is key to making smart financial decisions that will help you achieve your goals and live the life you want. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. And as always, thanks for watching.